Welcome everybody, and thank you for attending. Just a few housekeeping rules first. All attendees will be on mute and will remain for the whole webinar. Please use the question box to ask any questions related to the topic, and all questions will be answered after the demo. If we run out of time, or if the question does require a long answer, then the question will be answered offline directly. Please use the chat box for any questions related to the webinar. So, for example, if you can't hear the audio, or if the presenter is going too fast. And please note that a link to view the webinar recording will be sent to all attendees after the demo. So this is the 5 top things webinar, which is a small amount of people wants to focus on. Purchase Ledger is the 7th in the series, and you can sign up for one or sign up for all, and we regularly send out emails with a notification of the next webinar when it will be and how to register. Okay, so my name's Karen, and I'll be facilitating the demo today. I'm an account manager here at T-Vision, and my background is 17 years of software account management experience working for ERP companies. Ian's going to be doing the demo, and he's a support consultant here at T-Vision. He's been here for 2 years, and he's been using NAV since 2000. Okay, so here's the agenda for today. We chose Purchase Ledger because many people still use a non-integrated system for raising purchase orders and paying invoices outside of NAV. The benefit of using the Purchase Ledger in NAV is that it's fully integrated with a GL, so it has a process that automatically releases into the system without manual uploads. The Purchase Ledger is a built-in approval, so it reduces the time to take the purchase and pay. The system also has payment suggestions that can meet certain parameters, only requiring your input to actually post. So the 5 key things that we at T-Vision believe are best to introduce this subject, and some of the key areas are payment terms, foreign currencies, invoices on hold, prepayments, and reprinting. Okay, just before I hand over to Ian, we're going to do a poll. So it's just for us to understand the level of usage that you have at the moment for Purchase Ledger in NAV. So if you wouldn't mind putting in your answers, we'll just wait a minute or so, and then we'll let you know the results and go to the demo. Okay, so the results are still coming in at the moment. Okay, so it looks like it's kind of split into thirds really. So about a third say that they're just using it for paying invoices, or they do it outside of NAV in the system. Another third also say they use it for a standard process, so POs, invoice payment. And then the other third is a full process, so using the standard process plus the process. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Just going to close the poll now, and then I'll hand over to Ian.
Thank you, Karen. Today's demonstration, I'm going to be talking about the payables or the purchase ledger side of things. I'm using a standard Kronos database on NAV 2018, the newest version. And I'm logged in as the accounts payable coordinator, just to make it a little bit easy for myself, some shortcut buttons. You can change who you log in on personalization. Why use the purchase ledger side of NAV? So we've got some clients who are buying goods and then selling those goods, and they're using the purchase ledger, purchase orders, purchase invoices to record that stock and record their costs. Even if you're just doing consulting and services, you can still use it because you're buying stationery, you're paying your electricity bill, and there's things that you need to pay on a day-to-day basis. So to use it, the first thing we need to have are some vendors set up. On my system, I've got quite a few vendors. I've just got 2 of them with balances, Progressive Home Furnishings and London Postmaster. Progressive are in US dollars, London Postmasters in GBP, just so we can see the difference. And let's have a look at the London Postmaster. Normal NAV setup, so we've got who the vendor is, we have some details about how we invoice them, the posting groups, etc. And we have this payments section down here if we want to manage your payments. Now the application method, you can choose manual or you can choose apply to oldest. If you select apply to oldest, any payments or credit notes that you do would automatically apply themselves to the oldest outstanding document. It doesn't give me a choice. If I want to choose, then I would select manual, which is my go-to option. The next thing to look at is payment terms, and we're going to chat about payment terms in a second. So I'll leave that for now. And then payment method code. All versions of NAV, you get the standard payment methods, account, bank, cash, check, etc. Older versions have BACS. In 2018, that's been changed to bank conversion services, but that works like BACS. And if you're on the newest version, we can make sure that that still works for you. And this is important later on when we want to start filtering which types of customers we want to pay. But let's have a look at this payment terms, because this is really important for cash flow, etc. So at the moment, this customer has some payment terms set. We can hit the little drop-down arrow, and we get a list of all the different payment terms that are available on this system. We'd select the one that we want. We can create new ones, click on Advanced to change one that already exists. I'm going to go and do it the long way around, so let's go out of here. Imagine I'm doing this from scratch. I'll search for payment terms, and I'll select the one with the gears, and it brings me to a list of all the different payment terms on the system. Each one has a code, which sort of describes what it does, and there's a formula that goes next to it. Default NAV comes with some standards. I've added a few in here, but we've got the standard ones for 30 days, 60 days, 0 days, cash on delivery. And for each one of those, there's a formula that goes next to it, which NAV uses to work out a due date for payment from an invoice. For 14 days, we put in the code 14D, 21 days, 21D, 60 days, 60D, etc. For cash on delivery, 0 days, the system says it's due 0 days after you capture it. And these are quite simple formulas that are there by default. There's a slightly fancier one called CM, current month, and that's a code to tell NAV to find the last day of the current month. You can do the same thing for current week, gets the last day of the week. You could have one for CQ, which will get the last day of the quarter. So they're quite versatile, and those are pretty simple and straightforward ones. You can do some fancy things. I put one here. Instead of 15D, I've got the D in front for D15. And basically that's telling NAV whatever the date of my invoice is, go and find the next occurrence of the 15th of the month. So if I captured something on the 1st of January, it will then go and find the 15th of January is the next time I can find the 15th. If I captured something on the 16th of January, it will then go and look for the next 15th it could find, and that will be the 15th of February. So you can do funny things like that. So it's always due on the 15th. This one's slightly similar, but here I've said find the end of the current month and then add 15 days to that. So if I captured something in this case on the 20th of January, it would work the same as the previous one. It would find the end of January, add 15 days and find the 15th of February. But if I posted on the 1st of January, it would then find the end of January, add 15 days and come up with the 15th of February. So it's always the 15th day of the following month. And we put in the description to show that. There are some slightly funky ones you can do. This one I've set up, I've called it CM plus Friday. It finds the end of the current month and then goes and looks for the next weekday number 5. 5 being Friday, 4 is Thursday, etc. So if I captured something sometime in January, it would find the end of January, and then it would look at the calendar to find when is the next Friday after that. So that weekday 5 might be useful if you're a weekly cycle company and you want to always make sure your payment terms land on Friday. Once you've set them up, you would go to one of your vendors. I'm going to select a different vendor here. I'm going to use ARD Property Management. And let's just see what payment terms we have set up for ARD. And currently I've got them on this funny month end plus Friday. And let's change that to 7 days terms, nice and simple. And we'll say OK to this, and we'll raise a purchase document against them just to see how that works. So we start searching for purchase. Whoops, I've got an unlock on. Let me correct that. We'll go and look for purchase invoices. and we'll select the option. I'm going to create a new one now for this AR day. So create new, choose my vendor, they're on the list, and immediately now my work date is set to the 31st of December. The system's tried to figure out 7 days after that, and it's come up with the 7th of January. So it's trying to figure out when that payment's going to be due. But bear in mind that payment date is based on the document date, not on the posting date. If I change the posting date to today, that automatically changes the document date, and the document date then changes the due date. So 7 days after the 14th is the 21st. If I change the document date, let's make it a few days earlier. Now, 7 days after the 12th, it's come up with the 19th. So it's the document date that drives that due date, not the posting date, and that's important to remember. If these payment terms are wrong, we can go back into AR property management, and let's just change their payment terms to see what effect that has. So we're editing them, we go to their payment terms, and instead of 7 days, let's choose the end of the month, current month. We select that one, and we'll close this. And you can see it has made no difference to this purchase document. So changing the vendor doesn't change the purchase document. And changing the dates here, it's still using 7 days. So this document was created with 7 days terms. It's going to continue using 7 days. If we're not happy with this, our only solution, let's delete this purchase invoice. So highlight it, click delete. And we'll raise a new one. And when we raise a new one, it should come through with the new payment terms. So again, change that same vendor. And we'll let the system automatically come up with the due date. So for the 31st of December, the end of the month is the 31st of December. If I change that to today, 14th of August, the end of the month is the 31st of August. If you need to, you can always edit this due date to make it something that's more meaningful to you. For a public holiday or something, I can do it a day early. That doesn't affect my document reporting dates. Once you have your vendors set up and you raise some purchase invoices, you can go and look at those with balances. And let's just have a look at the London postmaster. We owe him £432. We can click on this balance, or we can go to the fact box and click on the balance to drill down and see where it comes from. So this comes from 2 invoices. One invoice for £200, one for £232. If for some reason I'm not happy with one of these invoices, so this invoice, I think they've overcharged me or they didn't deliver the correct goods or something, and I don't want to pay it. I click on Edit List here, I scroll over to the right, and there's a column for On Hold. I've put my initials in the On Hold column for this invoice, and that is just telling NAV, if I ask it to suggest when payments become due, it must ignore this invoice, even if it is due. It's pretty simple. You can only put 3 characters in here, so you just put your initials, and that just lets the system know. Before I do any payment runs or suggestions, there's a nice little report, which we call the Payments on Hold report. Let's just have a look at that report. I'll take the default values, preview, and within a few seconds, I've got my report. Oh, still processing. And it tells me on my system I have one invoice that's on hold. It tells me the due date of that invoice, who it's for, and that code that I put in there, it shows me if that's my initials, anyone runs this report, they can ask me to, figure out what's going on with this invoice. Once I'm happy, resolve the issue with the London Postmaster, I can again drill into this balance. I would click on Edit List, scroll to the right, and I would just remove my initials here, and that would take it off hold and it would process as normal. For this demonstration, I'm going to leave that there, and we'll see how it affects my payments a little bit later on. The next thing that we need to do, once we've got all of these payments sorted out, we need to go and we need to actually pay some vendors. So we do this by using a payment journal, which I could search for because I've used the right rule. I'll use the shortcut button. And I have a number of payment journals that I've set up. So I've got one up here, bank, which is for my GBP payments, and I've set one up for USD payments down here. So we're going to pay our GBP vendors. Now once I'm here, I can start entering a document number, external document number, etc. I can then click over and say which vendor do I want to pay, type in my free text and the amount that I want to pay them. The system is going to take that payment from my bank account, my GBP bank account. I can type that all in manually. If I've typed it in manually, I then have to go and tell it which documents do these payments apply to. Now you can imagine that's a fair bit of typing just to do one payment. I don't like doing that, and if I've got hundreds of vendors and this starts filling up, that's a lot of work I'm doing. So fortunately, NAV has a shortcut, and it suggests vendor payments. And that's why it's important to have those payment terms set up correctly. Suggest vendor payments is going to use them to suggest to me who to pay. So I click on that button, and let's just expand this screen a little bit so we can see what's on here. And I start telling it, find me everything that's due for payment on or before the 31st of August 2019. I can then ask it to find discounts, etc. To ignore the vendor priority for now. I can summarize per vendor. So if I have multiple invoices, if I tick this, it's just going to suggest one payment. If I leave it unticked, it will suggest multiple payments for a same vendor. What is the posting date for my document? And I have to give it a document number, something descriptive. You might say August pay run or something like that. I'll just use my initials. And this is the bank that's going to be affected. And then I can choose which vendors do I want it to go and look at. So at the moment it's set for USD. I actually want to find my GBP customers. GBP is always blank. I can't leave this blank, that will bring everything. So I'm just putting in 2 single quote marks to show bring me all the ones that are blank. I could then go and say, go and look at this range of customers only. I can go and say, find the ones with this payment method terms. That's what we set up in the vendor code. So I could say, find me all the ones that I want to pay by bank transfer, or my cash payments, or by backs. And it just lets me narrow them down and work with one type at a time. And I can always add more filters if I want to narrow that list down even further. When I'm happy, I click OK. The system is going to look at those due dates that it's calculated and suggest the payments it thinks I should make. Let's see what it's come up with. And it's come up with paying the London postmaster £200. Remember, he had a balance of 432, but 232 we put on hold, so the system is automatically excluded, and it's automatically done in application. I don't have to type it in and say what I'm paying. And if I want to see what this is, I'll click on Apply Entries, and I can see this payment's going to be applied against this invoice, and I can see that one is being ignored. That's the one that I put on hold. When I'm happy with this and I've got all of my vendors, I can delete any that I don't want to pay. I can manually edit the amounts. And then the next test would be to export a payment file. So if I need to upload something to the bank, I click on Export. This will be set up in the correct format for your bank, and then you can load that into your banking system. Remember to do this before posting. Once you post it, you're not going to get this. You can also run a test report from here, which would show you what's going to happen. And another powerful button, which I really like, is the preview posting button. If you click that, it will simulate posting and tell you what happens. We'll use that button just now when we do a foreign currency payment to see what's going on. So you populate this on the latest version. You can suggest employee payments. That's something new in 2018. But the rest of this functionality is available in older versions. The closer you are to 2018, the more similar it looks to this. The renumber document numbers is an important button there on the left if you've got the wrong documents, and the send approval request if you want to start thinking about approvals. You can set that up for journals and someone has to approve it before it can be posted. Let's imagine we're happy with everything that's happened there. Now let's look at our US dollar payment journals. So this time I'll search for it. And I'm going to use my US dollar journal. So let's open that up. And again, I can type in manually what I want to pay, but I don't want to do that. Let's let the system work it out for me. We'll click the button. And once again, we ask the same questions. We'll leave these defaults that we used from last time. We just want to change to show the US dollar customers. Say OK, and let's see what it suggests. And yep, it suggested the progressive loan furnishings for £200, sorry, $200, which is £150. Now, anybody who's sharp-eyed will notice a problem with that £150. Let's go and look at their account. And we can immediately see their balance is actually £130, not £150. So this invoice for $200 was captured on the 1st of August, and the exchange rate at that time made it £130. But since then, the exchange rate has changed. So it's not £130 anymore. Now $200 equals £150. There's a £20 difference that needs to be accounted for somehow. Fortunately, NAV is smart, and if we've set up our posting setups correctly, it knows exactly what to do with that £20. So that conversion, it can handle foreign exchange gains and losses. And to see exactly what it's doing with that, let's go to that preview posting button, and this will simulate posting, and immediately I can see there are 4 general ledger entries. So I was expecting 2, one against the bank and one against the vendor, but I've got 4. Let's drill in on that and see what's happened. So as I expected, against the bank and against the creditors control account, I've got that £150 posting. That's the current value of $200. And there's 2 additional postings that have happened here for that extra £20 difference. One's gone to the vendor, but the other one's gone to the realized foreign exchange losses. If it was the other way, it would go to the gains. With correct setup of my posting setup, that's done for me automatically. I can trust the system to account for that foreign exchange difference. So that's the payment side of things. Now let's imagine I've done this, but whoops, I forgot to print the remittance advices when I was doing my payment journals. Sometimes happens, or sometimes a customer loses the remittance advice. If we want to reprint one, it's quite simple. We come in, we're only seeing the open entries at the moment. Let's take away that filter. Now we're seeing the old entries that have been closed, and we can see the old payments that have happened. And let's say London Postmaster is querying what was this payment for on the 9th. He'd like us to resend the remittance. We can do it from this screen. Simply go up to the top, and there's the remittance advice button. It's already chosen the correct vendor for me. I just have to tell it which posting date. If I leave this blank, it will print all remittance advices for this customer. So I'll put in the 9th of the 1st and preview. I could have printed to a PDF or something. This is the document that it will produce. It's telling them that I'm paying invoice 5437, and that's the amount. So this is all well and good, and this is all standard NAV that's available on all versions of NAV. It just looks a little bit different in older versions. Let's say we want to start do a bit of an approval process. What I'm going to do, I'm going to stop being myself. I'm going to log in as Frank, and Frank is in my sales department, but he occasionally has to buy advertising material, etc. So Frank's going to open up his NAV, and once it's opened up, he's going to go and look at some purchase documents and just see what he can do on the system with a purchase document. So he's in my sales team. So on the left, we can see that he's got a sales-oriented menu. Let's go to the search box and search for a purchase invoice. No, let's search for a purchase order, and that can't do it the long way around. So let him go to purchase orders. And there are a number of purchase orders here, and let's assume that Frank has raised this one for Opal World. Let's go and have a look at this purchase order. And there's the purchase order. And with standard out of the box now, no setup, Frank can go and release this order. The status is changed to released, and Frank can then go and post this order if he wants to. Let's say we want to start using some kind of authorization or approval setup. There is a button up on the bar. Let me just reopen it quickly for send an approval request. If Frank clicks on this, oh, we haven't set up approvals for this system. So let's go and set them up. Let me go add a Frank. Let's close this document. And then I will swap over and log back in as myself. So now I'm going to log in as myself. I'm a super user on this system. And there are two things I need to set up for approvals. So the first one is who's doing the approvals, which is under approval user setup. Let's search for that. And in approval user setup, I need to set up the approver first. So that's me, and I have unlimited purchase approval. I could type in a credit limit here, £1,000, to stop myself approving something too big. Once I'm set up, I set up any other approvers, and then I set up people submitting approvals. So I put Frank here, and if he submits an approval request, it comes to me, already set up. Notice that Frank is not allowed to approve any documents himself. So let's just close that. And now we've got approvals set up. The next bit we need to set up are workflows. Now in NAV 2018, this is pretty simple. I've already got one here. If I didn't have this here, I would just go up to the ribbon and create a new workflow from a template. And I can choose a template, and there are ones for purchase documents, or purchase invoice workflow, purchase order approval, etc. I select the one that I want. I can set these up for sales as well, they also exist. But I would choose the one that I want. It would appear here, and there's only one thing left to do is open it up, leave all the defaults as they are, and just say it's enabled. Once I click OK, now we've set up approvals on this system. So if I go back to my home screen, just one thing I would like to show you on my World Center. I have no purchase orders pending approval. So let's go back to Frank. And now we've limited his capabilities somewhat. So we'll just log in as him, and we'll see what difference this makes. And I shouldn't have closed his nav. Let's just reopen it quickly. And we're going to notice when we go in and look at a purchase order under Frank's name, suddenly we don't have as much freedom as we used to have. So in comes Frank, he goes to his purchase orders, and select the link, and hopefully the same one's still highlighted. Yep, let's go and have a look at that. And now Frank looks at this purchase order. It's still open. He tries to release it, and he gets a message. It must go through the approval process. So the only thing he can do is send an approval request. He gets a message to say it's been sent. The status changes to pending approval, and now there's nothing that Frank can do until this approval has gone through its cycle. So go back to myself, and remember I set up Frank that his approvals come to me. So I can sign on as myself, and I will see now I have one purchase order pending approval, and it's pretty obvious to me I need to do something here. So I can click on this. It's showing me the one that's due. It would show me a list if there were multiple with approvals required, and there are some notes on the side. Let's open this one up. And I can now have a look at this purchase order. I can decide, am I happy with what Frank's doing here, £100. I can decide whether to approve, or if I'm not happy with what he's done, I can reject. If I click on approve, the status is going to change to released, and then Frank can work on it. If I clicked on reject, it would just go back to open. So let's go and have a look at that purchase order. I don't have to log in as Frank. We'll see the same thing on this screen. So have a look at purchase orders, find that one that Frank submitted. There it is. And if we open it up now, we will see because I clicked approve, the status has changed to released. So now Frank can go ahead and you can post this document, you can buy the stuff. Right, let me get out of here. So in summary, the things that we've looked at, we started off, we looked at some setting up vendors. We looked at setting up payment terms against those vendors. We looked at drilling into what's due from those vendors and putting a single invoice on hold without putting the entire vendor account on hold. We looked at a foreign currency and what happens when exchange rates change between the posting of the document and the posting of the payment. And we also went in and we looked at reprinting remittance advices. We then looked at setting up approvals. I chose approvals instead of prepayments because I noticed that quite a few of you who are not using the approvals process. I've demonstrated this on 2018, where it's relatively simple. On the newer versions of NAV, the setup for approvals is quite simple. If you're on a really old version, there's a bit more work to do. But if you want to start using approvals, drop a line to Karen or speak to your consultant, and we can give you advice and walk you through the setting up process. That's what I wanted to show you. Karen, are there any questions?
Okay. So if you do have any questions about what you've seen so far, or if there's anything that you were looking to see and you haven't shown yet, if you just want to use the question box and we'll see how many we can answer.
Okay, and the first one that's there, how to set up payment terms for end of next month. Okay, that's pretty simple. So when I was setting up payment terms, remember CM gives me the end of the current month. So if I want the end of next month, I would just type in that formula CM plus 1M. We'll find the end of the current month and add 1 month to that. That gives me payment due at the end of the following month. It's another one, yeah. Can we set up different levels for approvers? Okay, that's an interesting question. I just did a very basic setup for approvals, just 2 people on the system. If you've got multiple people, you can set them up with different credit limits and different approval limits. And any one of those approvers, when they receive a request, they can delegate, they can escalate if it's above what they're allowed to approve. So you can set up various methods. Okay, another question we've got here. We use general journals. Why did I use a payment journal? Okay, the reason I used a payment journal is because it gives you that extra functionality of suggesting vendor payments, which is not available necessarily on your general journals. And another important thing is it defaults the transaction type to payment. On a general journal, you can capture the same information. You can leave the transaction type as blank, which means when you're looking at it later on, you can't see which transactions were payments, credit notes, etc. So I always like to use the source document as best suited for the test. I can see there are a couple of more questions that have come through. I'm not going to get to those right now, but I will send each of you an email with a response to your question once we're finished here. I'll hand that back over to Karen.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks very much, Ian. So I'm just going to leave you with 5 key takeaways about purchase ledger. So it's just 5 things to kind of consider and think about when you're using it in there. So it's not just the stock. Think about what you buy from your suppliers on a regular basis. Or even on a regular basis, such as stationery. Could you use the solution for purchases such as those things? And what could your ideal automated approval process look like? So can you currently do that in how you tackle purchase ledger, or could it be done using purchase ledger now? How automated would you like your regular and ad hoc payment runs to be? What type of documents do you need to produce regularly, such as remittance advices? And again, could that be done through using this solution? So the same, if you're not measuring it, you're not managing it. So using purchase ledger in that could help you in your reporting process. So consider what you do need to report on, and could you use purchase ledger in order to help you with this. Okay, so we hope you found this interesting and informative. As mentioned before, this is the 7th in the series of webinars. The next one will be on reporting, and we'll be sending emails out soon to register for this. We'll also put a reminder in our newsletter as well. So thank you for attending. We're about to close this session. Once we do that, a survey will appear. If you could respond with any feedback, that would be brilliant. If you do have any further questions, please feel free to email me to the Thank you very much, everybody.